Schools are meant to be safe places for our children, but their fellow pupils can turn their lives into a nightmare. A shocking video emerged from Limpopo this week where 15-year-old Rufuno Mabunga was bullied at school. She has since died by suicide. To speak on bullying in schools, Shaheda Omar from the Teddy Bear Foundation for Abused Children joins me now for that conversation. Shaheda, this is a conversation that comes up, sadly, from time to time. What are the elements from your experience that are at play in bullying in schools? What creates an environment for bullying in schools?
Well, I think firstly we need to look at the structures within the school framework in terms of protocols, in terms of awareness raising, in terms of children being informed and educated around acceptable and unacceptable behaviors, and also a deeper understanding of actions having consequences. So this needs to be something that is done on a regular basis, consistently sharing this information, but also ensuring that children understand the implications of this. But at the same time, we find that even educators or supporting staff need to be equipped, empowered on identifying bullying and the management of bullying, because often it's the management which fails and falls short, where children then become further victimized and are subjected to secondary trauma. So I think this requires a more holistic, integrated and coordinated approach to ensuring the minimizing of bullying.
So that's the sociology of bullying in schools. But what do we know about the psychology of the bully? What is it a manifestation of when a child is a bully?
So yes, you have raised something that, yes, what is it a manifestation of? Bullying is usually an acting out. It's symptomatic of underlying unresolved issues and feelings. And often it might be that the child is a victim himself or herself of bullying, or is a victim of some or other form of abuse. So usually we find that these children are suffering from some other issues, and it might be that we see the child as bad or mad, but actually the child might be suffering from depression or any other psychosocial ills. And I think that is what needs to be addressed. And behind that bad child or mad child is the sad child. So that is something that the school fails often short of. And even when responses or reports are made, they're not adequately dealt with, or even not swiftly dealt with, because we know in the Limpopo case that is what happened, where it was reported and there wasn't an immediate response to addressing it or addressing the concerns of the victim, but at the same time addressing the victimizer who initiated this bullying scenario, which led to a tragedy.
So I believe whenever there's this incidents like these, Dr. Shaheda Omar, people like yourself give us enough insights into the elements that go into creating an environment of bullying, and we can analyze it, I don't know, endlessly. But
so, yes, I just
what's your sense? Yes. Yes, go ahead.
That a lot of children suffer from low self-esteem. It's, the issue of power and control, the dynamic of power and control, where children often feel helpless, hopeless, defenseless, and resort to maladaptive ways of assuming that power and control. And that's often the modus operandi of a bully as well. We cannot condone or justify it, but we need to look deeper and understand the mindset of that bully. Where is it coming from? What predisposes that bully to engage in such kind of destructive behavior, which certainly is not in the best interest of all children.
So let me park the question I was going to ask, because you talk about issues to do with self-esteem, and go to a separate question then about the self-esteem and dignity issues that come up when an incident of bullying is captured on camera, on video, and cell phone footage, because children have cell phones these days, and ends up being viral on social media. It's the second time that we've seen this linked to a situation that has to do with, self-harm. In 2019, we did see it in the incident that happened in Campton Park, where we were told that there was such a narrative that did develop around that particular child. Thankfully, it didn't end up with tragic consequences we've seen here. What is the psychology that is at play around issues of self-esteem and dignity, in addition to being bullied?
So I think if we look at what are the issues, what are the challenges around that, it's about validation, about acknowledgement, about recognition. And often it's about gaining approval and affection, seeking that kind of approval and affection. And bullies are seeking out for that kind of recognition but are not receiving it and do not always find an adaptive and acceptable way of reaching out, and this is their way. It's an attempt to the solution of the problem, issues that they haven't dealt with or issues that they are facing or challenges that they are maybe being physically abused, emotionally abused, being put down, criticized, and they're trying to uplift themselves, and that's not always the best way out. And this is what we are seeing, where it's playing itself out instead of helping or healing the situation. It's harmful not only to the bully, but to those around him or her, and of course to the whole school community, because what we are seeing is that this then gives impetus to a cycle of violence, because we see this pattern of violence which then has a knock-on effect and where there is no control. And I think that is something that is of grave concern.
Right. Thank you so much for your insights, Dr. Shaheda Omar of the Teddy Bear Clinic there